Unemployment in Nigeria is high, and it is a significant issue that affects many individuals in the society. The country faces high level of unemployment, particularly among young people. Now, factors contributing to this include rapid population growth, lack of adequate job opportunities, and limited access to quality education and skill training. Now, the government has been working on various initiatives to address unemployment, such as promoting entrepreneurship, vocational training programs, and job creation schemes. Despite these efforts, unemployment remains a pressing challenge that requires continuous attention and innovative solutions to improve the economic situation for many Nigerians. Welcome to Insight Today. I am Jumai Manson. I am being joined by Kayode Lawal. He is an executive director, Constituents for Development Initiative, Constant Nigeria. Stay tuned. The program continues shortly. You're welcome back, and this is Insight Today. I am being joined by a very special guest, no other person than the Executive Director, Constituent for Development Initiative, Mr. Kayode Lawal. It's good to have you on the program. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Jumai. Good afternoon, Nigeria. How is everybody doing today?
Okay. And let's look at this critically. Now, what are the main causes of unemployment in Nigeria? As we know, a lot of people are out of universities and now in the labor market, as they call it, the unemployment sector. So what do you think causes unemployment?
Thank you so much. I have to appreciate you for giving me this platform as an opportunity to express my own opinion about the trending issue about the unemployment in Nigeria. And the first thing is that I have to appreciate the media industry, specifically your outfit, the Global TV, for the good job that you are doing. I've been here before, and I'm here to look at most of the tropical issues that affect everybody, not only in Nigeria, in the African continent and around the globe. Based on the question that you asked, that what are the reasons for unemployment? I think the issue of unemployment in Nigeria and other parts of the country, there's a lot of comparison in terms of when you analyze the causes of it. Number one is corruption. The country has been battled about the issue of corruption since so many years now, either during the military era or in the post-military era since advent of democracy in 1999. And we've not been able to actually get to the root providing solution to corruption. And the stakeholder has been canvassing for a lot of stiff penalty to ensure that most of the corrupt officials, either the government official or the people in private sector, they have to account for the reason why they have to imbibe in the corrupt practices. That's number one. Then number two, the stakeholder in the education sector, the Nigeria curriculum education sector is outdated, is out of fashion. And there was a lot of review. There was a lot of reform in different years, different government, different administration. But it has not been able to yield the result that we're actually looking at because as a result of explosion in the population of Nigerians. That's number one. Then the level of attitude toward education in terms of the out-of-school children. Then another thing is that we have to look at a lot of issues like climate change. Because you can see now that a lot of people are trooping into urban area because as a result of, number one, insecurity, the issue of herdsmen and the farmers attack, and the issue of reduction in what we call the river along the river Niger and Chad basins, because most of the people who actually are that bank of the river, they've not been able to have enough water because of shrinking and depleting in the level of water along that line. There are a lot of issues that actually the reason for the issue of unemployment. And from the government side, one of the things I'm looking at is the issue of what I call policy somersault. Number two is the issue of duplication of projects and wastages when you talk about the budget processes. Because for instance now, In my own opinion, and what we do in our own organization, that's Constituent for Development Initiative, Consent Africa, is basically to let's engage our political officer, that the elected representative and the political appointee, that there's a need to do what I call need assessment and prioritizing the need of the people in any community that the government wants to actually cite a project. For instance, now, through a lot of our engagement and the report we got from our field officers, you find out that for instance, if you want to build a primary healthcare centers now, the Federal Ministry of Health will be building. The National Primary Healthcare Development Agency will be doing the same thing. The National Health Insurance Scheme, or most of the agency or parastatal or commission under Ministry of Health, I think is like an what I call overlapping of functions and responsibilities.
Okay.
If, for instance, now we want to get it right, we should be able to prioritize the responsibilities and ensuring that we know who is going to do what at one particular point in time, and who is going to, for instance, now, if the ministry can be able to just base their activities and function according to the mandate as being enshrined in their Act of National Assembly that guide our ministry, basically about policy framework, then let the agency under your ministry do most of the things. If the one is actually giving you a structure, let the other one provide infrastructure. Let the other one provide what we call a 24-hour electricity in the area of solar energy and other source of power.
Okay.
Those are the issues that the government of the day has to be looking at. And I believe that most of the appointee of Mr. President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, they are working tirelessly on this, and there's a need to involve and ensuring that we activate a more stakeholder inclusive.
All right, talking about prioritizing now, how does unemployment impact the economy of Nigeria?
Yeah, actually, this question that how does the unemployment in the country have effects on the economy, we have to look at it from the two sides of a coin. It's either the tail or the head. What do I mean? For instance, now, I will look at the positive aspect of it.
Both positive and negative.
Yeah. For instance, now, it has a lot of negative effects on the economy. Number one, it's going to bring about what I call delay in the processes. Number two is that there's going to be a lot of apathy among the young people. Then number three is what we also last month about the issue of protest. That Nigeria youth are not happy about what the government is doing. But the basic fact is that most of the decay that we are experiencing now, it was not actually started yesterday. It was not actually started today. It has been something that has been what I call a continuous infraction in the process of the governance, of development, and other things. But the solution to this is that on our own side now, we are trying to engage the young people and the stakeholder. For instance now, one of the responsibility of government, which I believe that the government is supposed to be carried out, is continuous engagement with the people, sensitizing these people, educate them specifically, and open up the system. A lot of the civil society and NGO, they have been canvassing for the need to do what we call open governance.
Okay.
You open the system to the people, let the people actually have the what we call the ownership that this government is actually interfacing with Nigeria, and you are giving them all the statistical data that will support most of information that you are bringing. So Nigerian people will be happy that actually we are very happy about what the government is doing. That's number one. Then number two, it's that time for Nigerian government to look at what can they do in the area of there's a need to prioritize the project or the program or activities that is going to have positive effects on the life of the people. That's number one. Then number two, we have to do what I call need assessment. Because as I rightly told you, what you think you work in Kano might not work in Lagos State because of the different economic comparative advantage. That's number one. Number two, in terms of the population, so you understand. But the basic fact is that we have a lot of ministry, department, and agency. And what we have in terms of the government agency is enough to solve most of this problem. But the problem that we have is number one, about the bureaucracy. Then number two is all about when you say this project can work in Lagos, you want to try it in Akure, it cannot work. For instance, most of our intervention that we've done with most of the past honorable member and senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria since advent of democracy, and what we are still trying to be doing now, is basically to help them carry out what we call constituency agenda for development. What does this signify? It's basically to look at your constituency. What are those statistical information? What is the need of the people? Then how can we prioritize most of those needs based on what your people need at right now? For instance, now, if for instance you have a dominated youth population in a particular environment, specifically about most of the metropolitan city or most of the urban center, you cannot do the same project that somebody from an agrarian community come from. And one of our interventions in the area of sectors and sectorial intervention is what we call youth constituency agri sharing prosperity. That we have a lot of projects that we develop for the young people, for the intervention for most of the agrarian community.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, a city like Ibadan, that happen to be one of the largest cities in Africa, and Lagos State, that happen to be a cosmopolitan city, like Rivers State, Port Harcourt, and other cities. We are looking at, you have high number of content creators.
True.
As what the government is doing about the issue of the newly created Ministry of Digital Economy. We are having an interface and do a lot of training, specifically for the young people, because the basic need is that everybody in Nigeria now is a journalist on his own. You have your Android phone, you do a lot of things, but the essence of this that we are engaging them is for us to let us see how we can be able to change their orientation, that they have to actually commercialize what they have. What do I mean by this? For instance, now I've seen a lot of young people who come for the first time to Abuja or National Assembly. What they do is that they pick their phone and they will be doing a selfie. So why are you not going to your community? Work on the basis of the statistic and information released by ICPC about the infraction, about the constituency project, and most of the executive project, most of the intervention of project of the government and other. And go to a particular site and say, I'm recording live from one particular constituency, represented by one honorable. You made mention of that man. And you now come to Abuja, and you go and meet the man and say, sir, when the last report about what I saw, they say this project has completed, but it's still ongoing. Why? Can you see now? Number one, you've provided a job for yourself, because the man want to know more about you, and he might likely want to employ you. Because
But that's very dicey. That is very dicey, really, Kayode. You can just go up to an honorable and say that, and then he might start asking you questions. Some of these honorables that you know that all they think about is themselves and their pockets and all of that. So why are you so nosy? It might be a very dicey.
No. You know, I want to let me give you an information. Since 2003, when the issue of a constituency project come on board, the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences, ICPC, has been working tirelessly to track most of the projects which we refer to as constituency projects. Because basically, any project, either from Abuja, any ministry, or anywhere, is basically to impact on the people's life.
Very true.
But Nigeria people have to ask a question. And that is more reason why now you see that there is going to be a lot of engagement from this 10th Assembly under the Speaker of House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajudeen Abbas, PhD. And the reason why I'm telling you is that there are a lot of civil society organizations and NGO that actually engage in all this kind of thing. And they do a lot of, number one, volunteerism. They recruit a lot of young Nigerians for volunteerism job. Then number two, they put a lot of them in the area of capacity building for intel. That, okay, we are going to train this set of the people. Go to your community, go and report any infraction about the process of the implementation of a particular project under any of the budget provision for a particular year.
All right, Mr. Lawal, sorry to just cut you on that. You mentioned something about the curriculum, school curriculum that causes a fraction in unemployment. Now, what role does education play in addressing unemployment in Nigeria?
Yeah, I think there's an adage that said that if you say that education is expensive, go and try ignorance. There's no way you can compare somebody that educated that somebody that has not seen the four angle of a classroom. And the basic fact is that when we are talking about education, it's high time for us to actually look at the process of education, the procedure, and the system or the type of education. Education has to be something started from our comfort of our family in the house, because every one of us grew from parents. So we learn from them. It's part of education. Then number two, when we now talk of education, is it informal education or formal education? Is it Arabic education? Is it traditional education? It all depends on what we are looking at. But the basic fact is that the education play vital role in shaping the orientation and engagement of any Nigeria. But when we are now talking about education now, it's better for us to be following the trend. The more the population, the more the need for us to diversify about the kind of education that we want to actually give Nigeria. For instance now, as I said earlier, a lot of stakeholders they've criticized the education system in Nigeria. That number one is too theoretical. Number two is too holistic. But it's time for us as a government to actually look at other system of education. Like for instance now, skill acquisitions, vocational skill, and issue of empowerment and wealth creation. But on our own as an NGO, we've gone beyond that. What we are doing is that we are tapping into the resources of the community to educate the people about the economic importance and the economic prosperity of what they have in that community, and it has been paying off. Let me cite the case for you. We, for so many years now, we've been partnering with some honorable member and senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to do a comprehensive analysis of what kind of skill acquisition and vocational skill. So we target youth constituency empowerment and wealth creation, basically about the opportunity, economic opportunity that will improve the microeconomy of that community. For instance, now, if you are from a state like Kogi, Nasarawa, and most of the states that are endowed with solid minerals, calcium is one of the resources they use for paint in paint industry. We've done a lot of training regarding that. And one thing that the way we actually conceptualize our training, after the training, you produce most of what you produce most of your product in terms of the output, in terms of what you produce.
Okay.
You have to use it to engage the stakeholder. That most of the things that you spend so much money to go and get outside in the city is actually here. So we have an interface with them. The economic implication is that by the time any of residents or any of indigene of that place has a project that really will building, they have to call you because they know that they don't need to go far to get the service of a painter or somebody that. So those are the strategic efforts we've made so far, and so many others.
But let us talk about technology and innovations. What role does it play in tackling unemployment in Nigeria? You mentioned a lot of things at the beginning when it comes to digitalization and all of that. So let's talk a bit about technology and innovations.
Yeah, before the coming of this current administration, other president Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we have a Ministry of Science and Technology, and there are a lot of agencies and commission under it. Anytime we have an interface, we are still begging them. I'm using this media to actually appeal to them that there's a need for them to engage Nigeria. There's a need for them to talk to Nigeria. One of the challenges that we have in the country, there is big gap between the government and the Nigerian people, and there is an adage in Bible that said that my people die, my people perish
because of lack of knowledge.
For instance, now, if you see what young people are actually doing now about the issue of technology, you'll be amazed and you'll be very happy with Nigeria. And when you go about, you study most of the statistics across the education sector around the world about the use of advent in technology. If you go to China, you go to India, you go to most of countries who are actually advanced in technology. Average Nigeria, you get over there, they are doing fine. So we have to appreciate the current government by actually create a ministry called Ministry of Digital Economy that will actually separate the technology and innovation and digital economic opportunity. And as I rightly told you before, you see one thing about this country is that Nigeria youth are ready to learn, because, and apart from that, they're ready to actually make a trial of what they learn.
But sometimes, don't you think the Nigerian youth, they like the fast lane? Some people, that's what they say. They want it at the snap of a finger. No one wants to be patient or tolerant to go through this process, you're saying.
Yeah, that's the perception from some crop of Nigerians. And sometimes it's not outrightly correct. But the basic fact is that when we are perceiving a particular problem, we don't need to blame anybody. What we are going to go straight to look for solutions.
Solutions, yes.
And let me tell you one thing. Most of these youth that we are actually talking about, I said it as we are in the course of this discussion, they are product of a particular family. And the society too has to be responsible for that. Because they are not from from Eclipse, they are not from anywhere. They are part and parcel of the system. And I think this question and this engagement has to be about what is the leader doing in that regard. For instance now, either you are a politician or you are a businessman, the flagrant display of wealth might account for it. That so we have so much money in this country like this. Some people might decide that I might not want to go to the extent or make sacrifice that this man make through hard working, that I have to cut corner. And that's why you see the issue of Yahoo and other vices in Nigeria now. You see the ritual killings and other things like that. And recently, you will see one of the leading banks, the youth go there and pull out billions of naira. Can you see now? And because even those young people who actually did that, most of them they've not gone. Most of them they are not graduates, but they are versatile in the area of technology and digital innovation. So it's not that I'm condemning the leader or most of the stakeholders who raised this issue, but let's see the opportunity in what these young people are doing. For instance, recently the chairman of Economic Finance EFCC find a young guy who actually dipped his hand in a particular account.
He hacked it.
Yeah, brought out a amount of money, huge amount of money. Do you know the chairman of EFCC has to invite the young guy for a discussion? Because you see one thing, there is always an opportunity in any wrongdoing. But the basic fact is that we have to ask ourselves, the policy maker and the government, are they ready to absorb and to change the orientation and mentor these people? Because the basic fact is that it's the responsibility of every government to take care of the citizenry. But if the citizenry are doing something bad, we have to look at what can we do in the area of strengthening the policy, engaging the stakeholder, then ensure that you use legislative instruments that can be able to tackle all these challenges. Though regarding this, I think it's high time for the government and most of the government agencies who are into the enlightenment of Nigeria to let the people know that there are reward for the good deed, and there is a penalty for wrongdoing.
For bad deeds. Well, I have two more questions quickly to ask you now. Now, the first one is, what are the social implications of high unemployment rate in Nigeria?
Number one, kidnapping. Number two, pickpockets. Number three is armed robbery. Then number four, you see that it can lead to illegal and usurpation of the law. Because number one, when you don't have job, you might decide to go to any length to get things done on your own. So in that case, there's going to be an infraction in our legal practices. We all know the implication that when there's an infraction or there's a violation of the law has to take its course.
Definitely. Now, how can government breach this gap? How can they close the gap of the high rate of unemployment in Nigeria? That will be the last question I'm asking you now before I wrap it up.
This question is like providing solutions to most of the issues that we've raised. So we have to appreciate the government once again for most of the innovation in terms of looking at most of the opportunity, how they can be able to bring the young people on board, specifically about the issue of Nigeria Education Loan Facility, the issue of a Nigeria Youth Investment Fund, the issue of can transfer. A lot of projects is going on,
Yes.
either for artisans, for the student in the education sector, or either an entrepreneur. It depends on which one that you want to key in. But appealing now is that we are appealing to the government. We are begging the government. There must be standard that you have to set in order for Nigerian people to access this. We know that the National Identification Management Commission have been registered Nigerian people to get their national identification number that's going to actually use as identity for anybody in order to avoid that you don't have a duplication of beneficiary. Then number two is that there must be following up. In fact, most of the people who benefited from the COVID-19 fund in 2020, most of them are still paying most of the money they gave them as at that time, because there is what we call identification of the person that actually borrowed the money. So those are the areas that we want the government to actually improve, and ensuring that there's going to be what we call using the ICT and technology to track most of these funds and to monitor most of the people to ensure that they use the money judiciously for the benefit of the country and for improvement of our economy.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I like the part where you said the benefits of the country and the improvement. And this is where we'll be drawing the curtains. Thank you so much, Mr. Kayode Lawal. He is the Executive Director, Constituent for Development Initiative, Consent Africa. Thank you so much for taking out time, your well of knowledge when it comes to this particular issue of unemployment in Nigeria. It's a very critical issue. But at the same time, thank you for taking out time for explaining and talking about how to bridge the gap and how to come together,
Exactly.
government and, of course, the Nigerians who are facing unemployment in our country. Thank you for being a part of the program.
I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Now, unemployment in Nigeria remains a pressing issue, with various factors contributing to its high rate, especially among the youth. Now, the government effort to address this challenge through job creation schemes, vocational training programs, and entrepreneurship promotions are crucial steps in combating unemployment. However, sustained focus and innovative solutions are necessary to effectively reduce unemployment rates and improve economic opportunities for all Nigerians. Thank you all so much for being a part of Insight today. I am Jumai Manson. Bye-bye.